Couple of things. We've got some old business stuff that's easy and quick. We got some new business stuff that's going to be a little more complicated and slower. There's the old business stuff. The red check marks mean we actually got it done or mostly done. Membership approval to move forward. The new EIN number's been issued by the IRS. The checking account's been fixed. Corporation Commission says we legally exist and they like us. The IRS Form 1024 is in the process of being prepared. So that's the old business from February. New business from February is kind of carrying forward plus some additional stuff. Status of the IRS Form 1024. Mike and Lee have begun going through the forms. It's 2 pages that has like 53 categories and 3 different columns of stuff that I don't understand or remember. They're working on it. One of the critical and important things is that in order for us to satisfy the requirements for 501c7, we have to amend our constitution and bylaws. Once we do that, and we're going to begin that process tonight in just a minute. Once we do that, and the final vote will be taken at the April 6th meeting, because the Constitution says the board or a member can bring the amendment to the floor tonight, and we'll have ideally a motion and a second. We'll have some discussion. Then the vote shall take place at the next regularly scheduled membership meeting, which is April. And what I would like to do there is review these again and have additional discussion at that point, and then have the vote at that point. So effective April the 6th, we should have an updated amended constitution. So that's the second thing. The third thing is the CADXA picnic. It's going to happen this year, folks. Saturday, May the 20th. I'll go get into that in a minute. Okay, so we are on this slide. One of the things that's required for the 501c7 is we have to have in our Constitution non-discrimination wording that says we're not going to discriminate, blah, blah, blah. This goes in Article 2. The current one is the text in black, the Article 2 membership. Section 1, membership is open to any licensed amateur radio operator interested in working DX. The new additional wording is in the red text that reads, membership may not be denied because of race, creed, color, religion, gender, sexual orientation, political affiliation, marital status, or any other reason that would be biased or prejudicial. This wording was presented by Lee. It's been blessed and approved previously by the IRS, so it's an IRS standard. So that is what the board is proposing that we go forward with for the non-discrimination wording. Next one is the club dissolution wording. We don't have anything in the current Constitution. IRS says we have to have it. This is what we came up with. It's a new Article 8. The current Article 8 will become Article 9, and we'll go into that in a minute. Dissolution of the club. Section 1. In the event the board of directors votes that the club should be dissolved, the motion for dissolution must receive a 2/3 vote of the members present at the following regular membership meeting. Section 2. Upon dissolution, the club's assets shall be distributed as follows. The board of directors shall handle the distributions of all assets of the club. No member or group of members shall receive benefits from the assets. All equipment owned by a member shall be returned to that member. All unclaimed equipment will be sold and the net proceeds donated to a 501c3 nonprofit organization. All remaining cash will be donated to a 501c3 nonprofit organization. So what that says is if the board or we collectively decide to dissolve CADXA, that these are the steps we'll have to go through and how everything gets distributed. So that's the wording that Lee and the IRS have. And the next one, next page. This is the current Article 8 amendments, which will become the new Article 9 with the new text in red on this one. The only thing that changes on this is the article number 9 and the word amendments. The current Constitution says, and will continue to say, the Constitution and bylaws may be amended by a 2/3 vote of the members present at a regular meeting. Proposals for amendments offered by the Board of Directors or any member shall be submitted at a regular membership meeting and shall be voted on, it should say at the following regular membership meeting. So I will correct that. So that's the wording for that. Are there any initial thoughts, comments, Jim? The quorum is defined in a quorum is defined generally in the Constitution as those members that are present at whatever it is. I believe that this is different in that it specifies a 2/3 vote of the members present at the voting meeting. What? Well, but if the members that are present constitute a quorum, then if 2 people are there, then A, you have a quorum, and if it requires a 2/3 vote, I don't know how you get that. If you have 3 members there, you have a quorum. If 2 of them want to vote for whatever, then you've satisfied the 2/3 requirement. There's no minimum membership. No, it's whoever's there is the quorum. Yeah, thank you, Larry. Yes, and the cookies are really good too. An amendment can be proposed, but it has to be made public, and then it's the next meeting, so people have a chance specifically to show up. So it's like these things can be snuck in the process. Yeah. No, that's fine, and I appreciate all the questions, and I may or may not have all the answers, but I can get them. One thing I plan on doing is, well, what we would like to do tonight, it's the recommendation, next slide, Virgil. It's the recommendation of the Board of Directors that a motion and second be made to amend the CADXA Constitution and bylaws to include the new wording listed above as required for compliance with 501c7 requirements. To address that, in the Article 9 wording, there is a typo. The letter A should be, or the word A should be the word at, A-T, on the last sentence. So that will be corrected. And if there's a motion and second for this, it would reflect that in that motion. Okay, let me start writing. Hang on. Who's the second? No. Do what?
I move that we adopt the amendments, language for the amendments as proposed by the board, including the correction to the typo of the existing amendment clause, which is not intended to be changed.
Seconded.
Okay, discussion. The vote will take place at the next meeting, but we need to have discussion tonight. And again, I want to have discussion at the April 6th meeting. So discussion. Yes, I plan, one of the steps in getting that out to the general membership, I'm going to put this out on CADXA Slack, which is to members only, is my understanding. Okay. I don't plan on putting it out on Groups.io because my understanding that goes to recipients outside the membership. And this doesn't need to go there for a number of reasons. So, and I don't know if all of the CADXA members are on Slack. Okay. Most are, and if in the event there's not, Mike, do you know which 2 are not? Okay. Okay. We can explore that, but I want to get this out to the members soon, as in by the middle of next week. Okay. Yeah, and I'm good with that because the overreaching goal here is to get all of the members informed in this or of this. It's an important thing for CADXA to do, and I think we've been through those discussions. So we have a motion, we've got a second, more discussion for this. The history on the 501, thank you. The history on the 501c7 started with the PayPal issue. Historically, CADXA treasurers have used their personal PayPal accounts because it's convenient. We have some other officers who have used their various personal accounts, Zoom, some stuff like that, because it's convenient and it's easy. IRS came along in August of 2001, I think, and implemented a new requirement that PayPal and other entities like that have to report to the IRS and to the recipient, those recipients who received more than $600 in transactions through PayPal. What that translates to roughly is if I go to a ham fest and I use a personal PayPal account to sell or to sell ham gear, then IRS gets notified of that. I get notified of that. And initially it was effective January 1 of 22 that I would have to declare that as potential taxable income on my tax return. The IRS waived that requirement for 22 because there was a lot of refinements that were requested and a bunch of unanticipated issues that needed to be resolved. So that reporting requirement became effective January 1st of 2023. In the specific example, Mike has been using his PayPal account because it's convenient for us and it's convenient for him. And with 125 members at $25 a piece, we get in excess of $2,500 donations for that. So that would be reported to the IRS. That would be reported to Mike. Mike would have to file that on a new form from the IRS, I think, that says he got $2,500 in donations. There would be offsets, expense offsets to that, so it's not all taxable income. This meeting room is $1,300 and change a year. We've got a ARRL scholarship that's $1,000. We've got something else that's $1,000. We've got administrative costs, et cetera. So that $2,500 level of donations would be offset by greater expenses. In order to satisfy all that stuff and to go back and open a CADXA specific as opposed to a personal PayPal account, Mike went through and tried to do that. It requires what kind of business are you? What's your EIN, your employer ID number, something else and something else, and who gets the notice when they notify the IRS. So the PayPal aspect is the initial motivation to take these steps. The question was raised and discussed, well, what if we stop taking PayPal? So Mike and I looked at a couple of things and the board looked at a couple of things. Over the last 3 or 4 years, just over 30% of members have renewed via PayPal. So it's about a fourth of the club. If you look beyond that, if somebody wants to make a donation of whatever kind and whatever form, or in cash or something along those lines, and they go through PayPal, then it would have to be run through that. So those are some of the things that go behind the 501c7 for starters. Lee looked at a 501c3 and we discussed that, I think, at the last meeting. There are some valid, strong points for that. There are different amateur radio clubs in Arizona who are in fact 501c3s. 501c3 is, what am I looking for? The tax. Now it's where donations are deductible to the giver. Okay. But the paperwork to get there and the ongoing reporting requirements are much more complicated than a 501c7. 501c7 is designed specifically for social clubs. We are with less than $50,000 a year donation. Not a problem. We don't even come close to that. The reporting, the tax reporting or the income reporting requirements for a 501c7 apparently is as simple as an electronic or e-postcard, which according to Lee takes about 3 minutes to file. So that's why we narrowed down to the 501c7. And that's kind of the short history of it. Yes, sir. Okay, I was not aware of that, but that's fine. They're charitable organizations. That's what I was looking for. The 501c7, it sounds like the reporting requirements are the same. Because Thunderbird's a 501c3? Okay. Our understanding is that getting that is more complicated than a 501c7. Okay. Lee is an attorney, as is Ron Freeman's a CPA, K5MM. He's also a CADXA member. They have had a lot of discussion back and forth about, is a 501c7 better, worse, or the same as a 501c3? And the consensus of their opinion is that a 501c7 is the way to go. So that's why we've gone down that road. I think the difference, CADXA is more of a where everything benefits them. Yes. Yeah, I yeah. Yeah, so I'm not an accountant. I'm certainly not a lawyer. It makes sense to me that we need to keep it simple, for lack of a different term. For those reasons, as well as some other ones, we collectively as a group decided at the last meeting to go forward as a 501c7. So there's answers I don't have, but relying on Lee and Ron and Larry and everybody else who's had input and questions on this, I'm very comfortable with the 501c7. Yeah, we're a social club. We don't have 50 grand in donations. Now, if we do, a passing thought might be something like pay the taxes. But we'll deal with that if or when we get to that point. So does that answer whoever's question? Kind of. Yeah, we could change over. There's some flexibility there. I don't know what it is, but yes, you can move from one to the other. So any more discussion, thoughts, whatever? Okay, so we've got the motion to amend the Constitution with the wording that's in here. We've got the second for that. We've had discussion. Do we want more discussion tonight on that? I'm gonna send all of this verbiage out to the members not later than the end of next week, preferably earlier in the week. So everybody's got it. There'll be a little historical background in it, as opposed to just here it is, because that doesn't make sense. So anyway, okay, well, I thank you all for that. No, it's announced tonight. We have the motion and the second tonight. We've had a brief discussion. The Constitution says that the amendments shall be voted on at the next regular membership meeting, which I think is April the 6th. So that's the one when we take the vote. Okay, that takes care of that. Also, I think we're in a process right now of reinvention to a certain degree. We're coming out of 3 years of COVID, which has been a nightmare for everybody everywhere generally. And we're playing catch up on some stuff from that. So this is part of that. Oh, look, there's a picnic. I know we haven't had a picnic for a while. 3 years, give or take. And so about a month ago, I asked Steve, K7SP, if he would take the reins on coordinating a special committee to essentially put this thing together so we can make it fly. And he did, and the committee was made up of Walt, NJ8G, Ron, N7RD, Bob, K7BHM. And after a bunch of discussions amongst ourselves and dates and times and what about this and that and the other thing, we came up with the following as kind of a best case scenario. The date that we selected is Saturday, May the 20th of 2023. That is not the traditional date, which is the first Thursday of the month at our regular meeting. There's a couple of reasons for not having it on that Thursday and having it on a Saturday. A few of those include, a lot of our members don't like to drive at night anymore. So if you go to a Thursday evening function, then you're going to drive at night. If you go on Saturday, you don't have to drive at night. Saturday was also selected because a lot of us are retired, but still busy. A lot of us are still working and busier or busy. And if it were me and I had to go to work someplace and during the day and drive for an hour to get there, work 8 hours, drive an hour to get home, just so I could drive another hour to get to a barbecue, then I'm not going to enjoy it. But if I can have a leisurely Saturday, that's going to be a lot better. And that was the consensus of the committee and the board. So that's why we ended up with Saturday, May the 20th. It was originally suggested that we have it on Saturday, May the 6th, I think, but that's the 7th area QSO party. The 13th was considered and not selected for some reason that I don't remember. The 20th was selected because I think the weekend of the 27th, there's a DX contest of some sort, and we don't want to do that. So that's how we ended up on May the 20th. The what? Well, okay. What we can do there is we'll send an email to them and invite them. I will get to the Ramada in a minute. Okay. Well, regardless of when you have it, there's going to be problems. Okay. Now, the location that was selected is Kiwanis Park in Tempe, the Ruben Romero South Ramada specifically. Steve, Bob, and I Steve went to North Mountain Park, which was suggested, and he and his girlfriend went out there and looked at the facilities. They decided they were not appropriate for us because apparently the pathways are gravel. They're not asphalt, they're not concrete, there's no lighting for evening, things like that. The Ramadas themselves are not what I would term optimum. And most importantly, it's a City of Phoenix Park, which apparently all close at 6 p.m. So that took care of North Mountain Park. Papago Park was also considered, and there's a couple of Ramadas there that Bob and Steve and I went and looked at because on paper and on the maps, they look pretty good. They're not. It's not in pristine condition. It's not even in really good condition. There's a lot of public access to all of the Ramadas, whether you reserve them or first come, first serve. Most importantly, the closest restroom is like 400 yards. So that's probably not a good thing. Kiwanis Park, the Ruben Romero Ramada complex is two actual complexes. There's a north one and a south one. Each will seat approximately 350 people. Bob's got pictures. I don't have pictures, but I can send those out also after we come up with, we want to do this way. The parking is really close and convenient. The restrooms are like 80 feet from the Ramadas. The South Ramada will seat 350 people. It's flat, it's grassy. The entire Ruben Romero complex sits on about 8 or 9 acres. And each half is about 4 or 5 acres. It is fenced. Tempe PD has, at least when the park is open, which is 6 a.m. to 10 p.m., they have Tempe PD presence. They also have private security guards that go around and check stuff to make sure that the wrong people are not invading your space. Kiwanis Park is fairly centrally located. It's between Baseline and Guadalupe roads, about halfway, and about halfway or half mile west of Rural Road. It's about 5 or 6 miles, I think, south of the Para Club. So that's what we ended up with there. We discussed a couple of different options for food. Manuel's Mexican food is a favorite, and I've used them for our 50th high school reunion before, back in October. Perfection service, perfection food, et cetera, Price range is about $20 to $25 per person. We'll get to that in a minute. But we kind of came down to the, well, you know, it's a barbecue. Let's get barbecue. So barbecue is kind of the food du jour for this one. The menu that we're envisioning, has not been finalized yet. It's going to depend on a number of things. But typically it will include 2 different types of meat. We don't know exactly what it is yet, but it'll be chicken and or beef, beef and or pork or something else. And we can get a 3rd type of meat if we decide to do that, but it will cost more money. 2 side dishes, very accoutrements, which are additional things that I forgot to put down, and bottled water or soda. And what we plan on doing is if CADXA has to buy the soda or the water, we will get enough for the picnic, and whatever's left over we will be using here for the meetings. So we're not going to be wasting that. The approximate cost is running about $20 to $25 per guest. CADXA will be making a contribution towards the per guest cost. We don't know what that's going to be yet, because we don't know the number of members that are going to be, or guests that will be there, and we don't know what the final cost is. Initially, I suggested that we do $5 per guest as a starting point, but we don't have hard numbers with that yet. Final cost is going to be determined on the number of guests in the final menu. Several barbecue vendors have been contacted and their menus looked at. The prices are generally in the same range. Steve, K7SP, reviewed the Waldo's barbecue website fairly extensively, and they appear to have the best product for the cost, which includes. Okay, so Brian's going to pick up the food tab from Waldo's. Thank you. Okay, so we've got an independent, you know, whatever for that. But what Steve and I discussed is apparently Waldo's, and I had talked to you, is Waldo's is very good. They've been in business for a long time. I don't know how long, but a long time. And apparently they will prepare the food. We have to select the menu items and tell them how many people. They'll prepare the food, they'll deliver it, they'll set it up, they'll serve it, they'll clean it up. And Steve said that he found someplace on their website that cost includes beverages, which I'm guessing is bottled water and soda or something like that, maybe bottled water, iced tea or something. That's all to be determined and finalized, but that's kind of where we're headed at this point. If we have as many as 100 guests and CADXA subsidizes everybody $5 a pop, that's $500 out of CADXA's checkbook. I would see that as a most expensive option. It would require general membership approval because it's over the $300 limit. And if we get to that point, then we can deal with that as needed. A couple of things. Door prizes are being explored. There's the ticket, the prize ticket cost is included in the meal price. Everybody gets 1 ticket per guest, so everybody has an equal chance at the goodies. We might or might not have a program, and there's still ongoing discussions about that. We've been talking with Virgil, Steve and I have talked, et cetera, and there's several things to go into that. One, this is the first picnic we are going to have had in 3 years. I'm guessing that a bunch of people are just going to want to sit around, relax, rest, eat more maybe, and talk to each other. So for this year, we can go with a program. I don't know exactly what it would be. Since we're going to be outside, if we go with a projector and a projection screen, that might be problematic. So we don't have an answer to that at this point. But we're leaning towards just kind of a get together, everybody eats barbecue and has a good time kind of thing. CADXA historically has invited both the Northern and Southern Arizona DX associations, and we anticipate doing that for this event also. I've looked at their websites and each of them has looked like they have about 35 to 45 members. I think Mike said something about 6 or 7 of each of them attend historically, so that's about 10%. That takes care of that. Tempe Park rules and regulations. The Tempe parks are open from 6 a.m. until 10 p.m. So when we reserve this Ramada, if you want to get there before breakfast, have at it. If you want to stay till 10 p.m., have at it. City of Phoenix opens at some time and they close at 6 p.m. So they're kind of ruled out. The Tempe Park permitting regulations also, we're going to be a large group. As such, we can go to another stage of the large group where we have monetary transactions on site. That gets, think Super Bowl or Fiesta Bowl or something like that. That's not us. So the meal tickets are going to be prepaid, and that kind of gets to no walk-ins at the last minute because we have to tell the food vendors how many people to prepare for. And so that's kind of the ticket thing. And the idea, the concept is that you prepay for your tickets. You show up at the picnic. Mike's going to do the registration at a registration table. He will hand you your envelope that will have your raffle ticket in it. And then the raffle will occur as it does. And more information as it's developed is going to get passed on. Yes.
I don't know if I'm remembering this correctly or not, but did we or did we not historically invite the Arizona Outlaws as well?
I don't know.
We did.
Hey, Mike, KC7V, are you still on Zoom?
I am.
Did CADXA historically invite the Outlaws to our picnic? I'm good with that.
Not typically, but it can be done. I know a number of outlaws are members of both CADXA.
Yeah, I
and
know we've got a bunch of crossover members between Outlaws and CADXA. I don't initially have a problem with it. I think it might be a good thing. It might be a good thing to think about. It was brought up to the committee about, at the extreme, inviting every ham group in Arizona. And what we ended up with that discussion was, we are a specialty niche club. Northern and Southern Arizona CA or DX associations are also specialty clubs. So based on that, we stayed with just the DX clubs. So.
I'm okay either way.
Okay. Jim? Yes.
So it's not that much of a stretch for me.
To invite them? Okay, well, I'll call Steve tomorrow and we'll kick it around. We'll involve the membership here. Somebody will reach out to Arizona Outlaws and see what they think about it. We're certainly not closed to that. And if we can seat 350 people, we can probably accommodate them.
Well, certainly.
Yeah, okay. Well, we'll add them into the mix and let everybody know what our thoughts are, and then we can come up with this and put it all together. Is that, yes, sir?
My wife is vegan, so how much do you attend
That's a good question. We have not gotten into special dietary preferences, et cetera. And so, because I think the short answer to that is no. Because that also gets into the question about what if we have CADXA members or Northern or Southern DX Association members who want to come but don't want to eat. I'm not inherently, I don't have any particular position on that. It complicates the accounting standpoint. And so I don't know. We'll have to throw that around and see. Yeah. what we ran into at our 50th high school reunion with Manuel's was they had a vegan menu item for those classmates who were vegans. And also the not glucose, what's the GF thing? Gluten, that one. The gluten-free thing, that was addressed by Manuel's. We can certainly talk to Waldo's about that and see what they do with that. If she wants a bottle of water, I bet that we could probably comp that. Don't bring 53 grandchildren and 927 aunts and uncles because, you know, that's just not practical. But in that instance, that situation, sure. I mean, that's just the right thing to do. We are not planning and will not, as far as I know, nobody on the committee wants to do this, get an alcohol permit. That's another permitting level. At that point, we have to provide certificates of insurance. Apparently, we've never had alcohol at any of the barbecues, so I'm pretty good with that. To not have alcohol? Yeah, we're on board with that. Okay, so that's kind of generally the way the picnic is coming together. Now, out of the 33 people, 24, whatever is here, how many of you would tentatively plan on being at the picnic? Okay, so we got 2 for you, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 24, 26. Okay, so that gives us a starting point of about 30 people. One of the things that's going to happen in this process leading up to this on the prepaid tickets, and when I send out something or Steve sends out something to the membership about, hey, we're having a picnic, this is what the plans are, we need a non-binding estimate of how many people will be there. So we get a tentative number that we can approach the vendors with. At that point, when we get to the ticket sales for the pre-sold tickets, that will give us a final number. There will be a cutoff date, probably 2 weeks before the banquet or the barbecue. So we'll have a solid number. Yes, sir. Well, the concept for the concept for the email would be, okay, here's the plans. Please respond back and let us know if you're interested in coming, and would you bring a guest? If so, how many? And then that would give us a more refined estimate. And then when we get the tickets sold, we'd know definitively. You know what? Do you have a PayPal account? The timing, hold that thought. Let me get back to that. Yes, Bob. Negative, prepay, period. We are not permitted, will not be permitted, and cannot afford to have any transactions at the door. We have to have a sales tax license. We got to have something else. We got to have something else, etc. PayPal, give me a second. The timing on the 501c7 will be something along the lines of, on April the 6th, presuming the Constitution is amended, it will become effective April the 6th, which means that April the 7th, we can do 2 things. One, we can send all the IRS paperwork to them and get them started recognizing us as a nonprofit organization. And 2, we can approach PayPal and start setting that up. So between April the 6th and May the 5th, May the 10th, we can have that open for ticket sales. My best guess is that we can probably use PayPal. You can mail a check. Cash by the bucket load is always good. We would buy you your own barbecue company for the right amount of money. So one of the things that we're discussing and don't have a resolution to yet is, since they're prepaid tickets with a cutoff date, what happens if somebody can't be there? If And that's going to depend upon some things. And I'm winging this as I go here because the committee has not discussed it specifically. If it's something that's outside of your control, death in the family or something like that, you go in the hospital, et cetera, you have no control over it, then I would tend to lead towards refunding the ticket cost. If it's something you just get, cranky at me and go, I'm not going to go to the picnic, then sorry, probably not going to get refunded. So that's kind of the way I see that mixing. Okay, are we kind of good with all of that? So everybody's pretty much in favor of a barbecue. Kiwanis Park, you can Google Earth it if you want to look at the maps. It's the Ruben Romero Ramada. And it's on the south end of the South Lake, I think. It's a gorgeous facility. It is killer. Bob's got pictures if you want to look at them. We're going to put some out on the website when we get to that point. Certainly at the next meeting with a membership, because I want to have a more complete package now that we've got some guidance. Yes, sir.
Yeah, overall, I will be contacting across 50 manufacturers.
Okay.
And suppliers and industry.
Okay. Okay. And Bob already has a list of vendors and suppliers he's going to be contacting. He was waiting to send the emails out depending upon what we came up with here collectively and a guesstimate as to how many attendees we'll have. So now that we've got kind of an initial rough figure on that, he can start to go forward with that. And
Hard materials or cash.
well, if you go with a gift card, are you going like an HRO gift card versus versus an Amazon or something? Okay. 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 That's being looked, Steve and I have discussed that. We don't have any clear direction on it. We want to accommodate both sides of the house. And I don't know what the ultimate answer to that is, but we're looking into it. I know my wife would love it if she won a brand new K4D. I just signed the papers and moved. But anyway. And yeah. Yeah, there's going to be some juggling. Yeah, there's going to be some juggling on a number of areas here. Yeah, we're gonna go with, there's gonna be some juggling on some stuff here. So that's the concept. That's the money we're looking at. We want to control costs. We want good food and good service. Moving right on, finance report. Visalia, don't know anything about it. Finance report. Pardon? Okay, Visalia is going really well, extremely well. So thank you, appreciate that. Okay, Mike, if you want to do it, you can do it, or I can say, everybody look up there. We've got $9,800 in the checkbook. We've got a variety of expenses recently that are $398, give or take. Recent deposits are $285. Upcoming transactions or whatever that stuff adds up to. Membership count as of the end of February is 123, 109 of which are renewed before the March meeting.
Yeah, one other comment.
Oh, sure.
There will be some expenses associated with the 501c7 application when that comes along, but that's further out.
Yes, and that will be probably 6 weeks down the road or so-ish. And the IRS application fee for the nonprofit recognition is $600, which we've had that discussion and approved all that already. So that's the treasurer's report. Takes care of that. Dues are due for this year. We've got, what, 15 or 16 folks that still need to pay? Give or take. Okay, 14. If you want to renew, mail them in, wait for PayPal when it comes up and alive. And I think that'll be in about a month or 6 weeks or so. Bring cash, whatever. On the air challenge from Tom NQ7R. For the sake of brevity, do we want to run through that real quickly? Because Virgil's got the stuff. And I do not understand this. I have not participated in it. So somebody who wants to explain it, or just let me explain it all and I'll go through it. Hey, Tom, NQ7R, are you on the Zoom?
He's supposed to be on there. His name is up. His call is up.
Okay, hearing nothing, as they say. This is the 6-meter challenge, I believe. Mike KC7V is up there at 42. Jim KC1BB is at 32. Ron's at 18. Steve K7SP is at 11 at 50 watts. Next. DX challenge. Rick is losing by a handy margin still. He's at 433. Ron's at 386. The other Ron's at 226. Mike's at 191. Tom's at 189. You can read the rest of them. Next. HF Marathon, Rick's at 240. Ron's at 171. Jim's at 134, etc. Next. DX Challenge. Let me. Okay. The Expedition Challenge. Rick's up there at 33. Tom's at 19. W0JET, I know him. Oh yeah, Brian. Brian's at 12. Jim's at 9. 6-meter challenge. We read that one. Go back to the first DX challenge, please. Ron's shaking his head like, what? I'm shaking my head like, what? 60-meter antenna? Okay. We could do that. Okay, I don't have one either, but I'm not on the list. Okay, well, that takes care of all of my slides. So I'm guessing that we're kind of close to finished. Anybody have anything else? Virgil pointed that way.
The VOTA operation for W1A, W7 is coming up on the 15th of the month. If you want to operate, just email me. Tell me your times, what bands and modes you'd like to operate, and I will plug you into the schedule and let you know. That's for basically anybody in CADXA that's interested. And that's all I got.
Cool, thank you. I actually went through the operating schedule for that because I need a couple of states for 5-band worked all states. So I picked out my weekend to do different things on there. Food for thought if you need that, want that, or whatever. Yes, ma'am. No? Okay. You look all grumpy. Are we pretty much good? Zoom folks, are we pretty much good from your end?
All good.
Okay, I'll take that as a yes. So we're going to adjourn the meeting at 21:10 right about now. We're adjourned. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.